Rio Grande to the south of us, you're in Mexico. You have also added Latin America, a 7,000-mile-long area that begins at the Rio Grande, narrows at South America, expands over the bulk of South America, and tapers off to a small uninhabited island known as Cape Horn. The islands of the Caribbean Sea are also a part of Latin America. I recently toured this immense area in behalf of the Senate Appropriation Committee. As another tour, I took my camera along. In this film, you will see many of the Latin American people that I had the opportunity to meet and also to talk with. Generally, I found the people delightful. Even those in poor circumstances seem to have found ways and means of enjoying life. To paraphrase a popular author, few Latin Americans have ulcers. I cannot speak about the people without mentioning some of the magnificent scenery that surrounds them. The South American continent is sharply divided by the Andes Mountains, a long, immense range that contains some of the most majestic peaks in the world. These lofty works of nature are an irresistible attraction for any photographer. I could not resist turning my camera on them whenever I had the opportunity. Many travelers get their first glimpse of Latin America upon entering Rio de Janeiro, and it is a spectacle not to be forgotten. Atop Corcovado, overlooking the harbor, stands a tall figure of Christ the Redeemer, its arms outstretched to welcome. This huge monument gazes protectively over one of the most beautiful cities in the world. A local proverb asserts that God made the world in 6 days, the seventh he devoted to Rio. Other areas of Latin America are also postcard pretty, with settings of natural beauty, often enhanced by fanciful buildings and fountains. I've attempted to treat this complexity of land and people as a unit, a difficult task indeed. These people, engrossed in their day-to-day business, do not think of themselves as Latin Americans. They consider themselves Brazilians, or Peruvians, or Mexicans. Many are of Latin descent, but the population of several republics is predominantly Indian, and immigration has accounted for a variety of nationalities. Mexico, our nearest neighbor, is a country of contrasts, combining ancient Indian heritage with cultural contributions from Spain and technical advancement from the United States. In Mexico City, surrounded by the skyscrapers of the modern metropolis, the main market square of the Aztecs, the powerful Indian nation that once ruled the area, has been preserved. The eye of time watched the Spanish conquerors subdue the Aztecs and add their own contribution to the square, a Franciscan church and school. Today, the restored square and buildings serve as a monument to two of the most eventful periods in Mexican history. In recent years, Mexico City has burst its boundaries and expanded in all directions. Growth has brought traffic congestion and other big city problems, but increasing numbers of tourists find the Mexican capital a lively, entertaining place to visit. The climate is mild and exhilarating, the people friendly, and the sights interesting. Near the capital, I dined at a restaurant that provided most unusual entertainment for its customers. The bullfights here are staged strictly for fun, and many of the diners gleefully rooted for the bull instead of the matador. places that I visited was the campus of the National University of Mexico. The 10-story library building has reading material both inside and out. Its exterior walls are covered with mosaics relating the story of Mexican culture. Although the buildings are modern, impressive structures, the institution itself is ancient. It was founded in 1551. The mosaic murals designate the various schools, such as the School of Medicine or the School of Science. After leaving Mexico City, I flew directly over the crater of Popocatépetl, a famous volcano to the southeast of the capital. This snow-capped volcanic peak, towering almost 18,000 feet, was named for an Aztec warrior. My tour through Central America began with a brief stop in British Honduras, a British colony, expecting full independence within a few years. Future plans were eagerly discussed by the Prime Minister and several members of his cabinet. From a country busy with preparations for independence, I went to Antigua, a city in Guatemala that was once the seat of government for all of Central America. Until it was destroyed by earthquake in 1773, Antigua was the center of Spanish colonial rule, a rule that extended from Mexico to Panama. Now it is a somewhat sleepy little city. However, I did find one lively group. Guatemala is the home of the marimba, a giant-sized xylophone that is played by several musicians. Guatemala City, the capital of the country, has also had encounters with earthquakes. It was completely destroyed in 1918, but soon rose again from its own ruins. This attractive fountain stands in front of the presidential palace. All of the Central American republics are mountainous, and the altitude tempers the climate. For example, the average temperature for San Salvador, the capital of El Salvador, is 73 degrees, with a range of only 5 degrees. With such an agreeable climate, the city bustles with activity. No afternoon siesta is needed. As in most other countries I visited, the U.S. ambassador was my host, and I marveled at the lovely patio of our embassy residence. En route to Panama, I flew over several imposing volcanoes. Some of them are still active. While in Panama, I photographed the bridge linking the continents of North and South America, the Bridge of the Americas. As my tour progressed into South America, I stopped at Quito, the capital of Ecuador. This city is within 15 miles of the equator, but it sits nearly 2 miles above the sea. The climate is most pleasant. Built in the shadow of a slumbering volcano, Quito is a picturesque city with narrow, cobbled streets and a thriving flea market. The day being Sunday, I visited one of the local parks and found that many Ecuadorians had the same idea. Some of the men were engaged in a native game. The Indians in the white bell-bottom trousers and blue ponchos belonged to the Otavalo tribe, a lively group noted for manufactured woolen. La Paz, Bolivia was also on my itinerary. Located in a canyon near the top of the Andes, this city is the highest capital in the world. In and about La Paz, one can see the people who have become the symbol of Bolivia, the Indian vandals, their black braids topped by hard-rimmed bowler hats. Some of the streets here have taken on a festive air, supplied with paints and brushes through our aid program. The children have covered somber gray walls with gaily colored pictures.